One of the exercise variations we like to use a lot is the landmine variation. And while you can use this, you don't really need any equipment, just a bar to be able to use it. I'm going to make an attachment that's just going to, one, if you're working out, in your house, it's going to save your walls, so you're not ripping up your walls and floors. Same thing with your garage, really too, so it's not damaging your bar. But it's quick, it's simple, it's very cost effective, and you can make it with just one board. So I'll show you how that all goes together and kind of talk about the cut list here. All right, so I've got my pieces cut size here, and again, if you don't have a saw, you can have this done at the hardware store. That's no problem. Just make sure you know your dimensions to tell them before you go in. But I've got 2x3s just because I have scraps of those laying around. You can get a 2x4 and just one piece and you'll be just fine. But I've got 4 of these cut at 11 inches, and that's going to be my base. I've got one 2x3, which is just going to be the top base. I'm going to screw it down. It's going to keep all these pieces together. And that's cut at 10 inches just because that's the width of all these together. And this part, so I've got my 2x4s. What I'm going to do is I'm going to butt them together and make an angle, 45-degree angle. And that is where my bar is going to go. So I'm going to slide my bar right there, and it's going to keep it in one spot. It's going to be strong enough to where it's not falling around, and it'll chew up that wood instead of your floor. So I'll show you how we're going to screw that together. Again, with just minimal tools. I've got my screws. The best thing would be if you have access to some drill bits, you can drill a pilot hole first just so that the wood's not as likely to split. But if you don't, and all you have is just a screw with, a drill with just your drill bit in there, that's fine as well. I forgot to mention, this screw we're going to be using, it's a 2.5 inch exterior screw. The next step is going to be securing these 2 pieces together. This is called a butt joint, but you're just going to screw this screw in that way to create your 45-degree angle. I've got it on there, and just for my sake, I'm going to take these parts off just because I don't like the overhang. It annoys me. I have a saw so I can. It's totally fine if you leave it on there. You can just secure it back further. It's fine. But I'm going to mark right here, and then I'm going to cut it so it's flush. So I've got it cut flush right here. And now we're going to attach this to the bottom. And you're actually going to screw in from the bottom. What I'm going to do here is now I'm going to mark it on the back and the front. I'll take that off, and so now I know where it's at. This is where having my drill bit comes in handy, and I'm going to drill a hole in each one of these. Make sure you don't, if you're drilling on a counter or your workbench, make sure you either put another scrap piece of wood underneath, or an easier way, just move it off the bench so when that drill bit comes through, it won't do any damage. All right, so I got my holes drilled, and so what that's going to do is drilling it in from the top is now I know where my screws are going to be, and I'll screw the screw in from the bottom, and I've got my brace, so that way I can secure it from the bottom and not have to worry about drilling any fancy holes or anything like that. Now that we have our screws in there, we're just going to position our top piece, and we'll screw them in. And there you have it. So that bar will just sit right there in that hole. It's nice and sturdy. And we'll finish it off with just a pool noodle right here, so when it's bumping up against your wall, that way the wood's not going to